You hit the end of the month with your card maxed out. Again. It wasn't an emergency. Nothing major went wrong. You open the statement and see restaurants, apps, a jacket that still has the tag on, a subscription you forgot you had. And the question no one says out loud shows up slowly in your head. Where did the money go if I don't even remember spending it? Marcus is 33 years old, federal employee, steady paycheck every 2 weeks, health insurance, the kind of job security most people would trade anything for. He knows that. He tells himself sometimes, like he needs the reminder, I have everything I need. And yet every time he opens his banking app, he feels that strange emptiness, not of shortage, but of unexplained drainage. Like the money is water and his hands have holes he can't see. Marcus isn't irresponsible. He's not the guy buying sports cars or blowing money on nights out. The problem is subtler. He spends in drops. A delivery here, a software upgrade there, a gift to himself because the week was rough. That meeting went badly. I deserve a good dinner tonight. Finished the report early, I earned this. Too tired to cook. I'll save next month. Every expense has an emotional justification. Every justification has a trigger, and the trigger, almost always, is work. That has a name. It isn't lack of discipline, it's compensatory spending. Understanding that changes everything, not because it gives you a new financial hack, but because it shows you something harder to hear. You're not spending money, you're trying to buy relief for something money will never fix. Let me show you how it works from the inside. Behavioral psychologists describe a pattern called emotional regulation by substitution. When human beings can't process a difficult emotion directly, frustration, boredom, the feeling of being invisible, lack of recognition, they look for an immediate relief substitute, something that produces dopamine fast enough to mask the original discomfort. Alcohol is the most obvious example, but for the stable working professional of the 21st century, the favorite substitute is consumption. And it's sophisticated. It doesn't look like addiction. It looks like earned reward. Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics for studying the irrationalities of human behavior, showed that people don't make financial decisions based on rational calculation. They make them based on how they're feeling in the moment. Your present emotional state contaminates your perception of future value. When you feel good, the future seems secure and you invest in it. When you feel bad, the future seems distant and uncertain, and immediate pleasure feels like the only real thing. Marcus didn't know that was what was happening. He thought he just liked spending. But when someone finally asked the right question, what happened at work the 3 days before your biggest purchases last month? He went quiet. He remembered the meeting where his supervisor ignored a proposal he'd spent a week preparing. He remembered the co-worker who got promoted despite what everyone on the team thought. He remembered the particular feeling of being invisible inside a system that deposits money like clockwork but never sees what you're actually worth. And the night after that meeting, he'd ordered a meal that cost $80, not because he was hungry, because he needed to feel valued by someone. And the only one willing to do it in that moment was the restaurant that ran his card without judgment. That's not weakness, that's neurobiology. And it's the mechanism quietly destroying the finances of people earning more than enough to build something real. Here's how the brain actually works in this. Your brain has two structures in constant tension. One is the prefrontal cortex, rational, planning-oriented, capable of thinking about December while it's still March. The other is the limbic system, emotional, immediate, unable to see past right now. When you're balanced, the prefrontal cortex holds the reins. When you're frustrated, depleted, or feeling undervalued, the limbic system takes over, and the limbic system doesn't know what savings is. It only knows pleasure now versus discomfort now. Stable employment, paradoxically, is the perfect environment to trigger the limbic system regularly. Why? Because it creates what behavioral economist Richard Thaler calls poorly calibrated mental accounts. You have security. You know the paycheck is coming. So unconsciously you lower your guard. The certainty of tomorrow makes today feel less consequential. I can spend now. I get paid on Friday. And that logic, repeated 24 times a year for 10 years, is why you have more than a decade of steady income and nothing built to show for it. But there's more. Stable employment creates a silent phenomenon I'll call the invisible ceiling trap. When you enter a system with a fixed salary, limited bonus, and slow advancement, your brain gradually accepts that number as the upper boundary of what's possible. It's not a conscious decision, it's an automatic calibration. And when the upper boundary is set, the present becomes the only territory where you can extract value. Because the future inside that system doesn't feel like expansion. It feels like a slightly better version of the same place. Compensatory spending is the emotional response to that perception. If I can't grow here, at least I can reward myself here. Marcus arrived at that perception without words for it. What he felt was a Sunday evening dread that had been there so long it had become background noise. Not dramatic anxiety, just that particular wait before Monday. And Monday afternoon, after the same joyless lunch in the same break room, he'd place an order. New headphones, a streaming service he'd already cancelled and resubscribed to twice. Each purchase was small. The total at the end of the month was what could have become savings. Before I go further, I need to show you something I built after understanding exactly what we've been talking about here. It's called the Free Mind Kit, 3 tools that work together. The ebook is 35 pages of real behavioral financial diagnosis, not tips on cutting expenses, but a map of the invisible patterns that keep men with stable incomes locked in place. The Stability Cost Calculator is an interactive tool. You put in your numbers and it shows you the real cost of not acting. In wealth, in time, in freedom postponed. And the Free Mind series is 3 audio tracks of 7 to 12 minutes, designed to listen to when you wake up or before you sleep, working on identity, worth, and action, where knowledge alone doesn't reach. The 3 work together. The ebook builds intellectual awareness, the calculator builds emotional awareness, the audio tracks work on identity, not a course, no subscription, lifetime access, $37. The link is in the description. When you're ready. Back to this. What happens when you don't identify compensatory spending as a mechanism is that you keep trying to solve the wrong problem. You build a budget, you cut the coffee, you read investing articles, but the problem isn't the coffee. It's Monday afternoon. It's not the budget. It's the feeling that arrives before the purchase. Until you name the emotional trigger, every financial system you try will last until the next frustrating meeting. Research by Dr. Scott Rick at the University of Michigan divided spending behavior into 3 profiles. The tightwads, who feel anticipatory pain when spending, the spendthrifts, who don't feel that pain, and a third group Rick called conflicted tightwads, people who feel the pain but spend anyway because the internal emotional tension overrides self-control. Most of the people we're describing here fall into that third group, not people without awareness. People whose awareness is in constant conflict with the immediate relief system, and the emotional system wins because it's closer to the pain that needs resolving. How do you break the cycle? Not with punishment, not with deprivation, with radical identification. The first layer is trigger mapping. Before any savings system, you need an awareness system. Simple questions. What happened before your 3 biggest purchases last month? What day of the week do you spend most? What emotional state are you trying to substitute? Most people have never answered these questions because they seem too obvious. And the obvious is exactly what becomes invisible through proximity. The second layer is decoupling relief from consumption. Spending isn't the problem. It's the shortcut you've trained your brain to take when you feel bad. The goal is to build a second shortcut that produces relief without financial cost, powerful enough to compete with the purchase. For some people, it's physical movement. For others, it's writing. For others, it's a call with someone who respects them. The point isn't which shortcut. It's that the shortcut needs to be ready before the emotion arrives, because when the emotion arrives, the limbic system has already taken control, and the prefrontal cortex doesn't have access to the list of alternatives you wrote down in a calmer moment. The third layer is what I call the invisibility cost. Most people know what an $80 dinner costs. Few know what an $80 dinner 4 times a month, 12 months a year, for 10 years means, not in dollars spent, but in wealth that could have existed. When you translate compensatory spending into future lifetime lost, the math stops being abstract and starts hurting in the right direction, not with guilt, with clarity. Now, I need to address something you're already thinking. My situation is different. Maybe you're thinking, I have a family, real bills. It's not just dinners. Could be true, but the question isn't the size of the expense. It's whether it has an emotional trigger you're not seeing. You can have large bills and still have a layer of compensatory spending sitting on top of them, invisible because it's become normal. The problem isn't the scale, it's the unawareness of what's driving it. Maybe you're thinking, but treating yourself sometimes is healthy. Agreed. The difference between healthy reward and compensatory spending is one thing. You know why you're buying. In a conscious reward, you're clear on the emotional state, the value the object brings, and the act of buying isn't trying to resolve a pain that isn't financial. In compensatory spending, you're using money as anesthesia, and the problem it was numbing is still there once the purchase satisfaction fades. Maybe you're thinking, I've tried to save before and it doesn't work for me. That's because you were trying to change the behavior without changing the system that produces the behavior. It's like trying to quit smoking without understanding what the cigarette is solving for you. Real financial change doesn't start at the bank account. It starts with the honest conversation you have, or don't have, about what your work makes you feel every time you walk out of a meeting and the day still has 6 hours left in it. Marcus reached his turning point not by reading a personal finance book. He reached it when he realized that every impulsive purchase in the last 3 months had happened within 2 days of an interaction at work that made him feel unseen. It wasn't theory, it was data, his own data, about his own life. With that data, he didn't need willpower. He needed a different protocol for high-trigger days. The day after a meeting that was going to frustrate him, he already had a plan that cost nothing. And the following month was the first in 4 years that ended with a positive balance. Not because he stopped rewarding himself, because he stopped confusing relief with value. The money you earn deserves to go somewhere you chose, not somewhere the emotion of the moment chose for you. That's the point. Most conversations about finance don't have the courage to make. It's easier to talk about spreadsheets than to talk about what you're trying to resolve when you choose the expensive restaurant on a rough Monday night. Easier to talk about investing than to talk about why you feel the need to compensate yourself often enough for it to become a monthly pattern. The question isn't whether you deserve to reward yourself. You do. The question is whether the mechanism you're using to do that is serving you or holding you in place. Because as long as the relief comes from a purchase, the work environment generating the frustration stays untouched. You didn't solve the problem, you funded it, every month, without noticing. If what you heard here made sense, the Free Mind Kit goes deeper. The link is in the description. Leave a comment with one word that describes what you feel when you open your bank statement at the end of the month. Just one word. You'll see the comments reflect exactly what we just talked about here. Subscribe to the channel, not tips. A different way to see what happens inside you every time you open the payment app. Marcus left work last Friday and bought nothing. Not because he had money to spare, because he finally knew what question to ask before opening the app. And that question changed everything.